Welcome, I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and today, let's talk about anime. For those not in the know, anime stands for Japanese animation, so animation that comes from Japan. Just like comic books, anime can be anything as there is something for everyone because it encompasses many genres. There is science fiction, romance, comedy, drama, action, fantasy, horror. Some series are adaptations of Western literature, while others are also based on it. Many series may have several elements involved, like the case of the Gundam franchise. Gundam tends to be categorized with the mech genre due to it having giant robots, but it also has fragments of every genre. There are romantic subplots, character drama, it features a ton of action scenes, has some comedic elements, and so forth. So with that said, here are my top 10 favorite anime series. The first series on my list is an interesting take on a futuristic Japan, and that is Psychopaths. I'm kicking this list off with a more recent series as this is just so damn good. It features one of the strongest female characters to ever grace anime and is set in an interesting future. Japan is run by a governing system known as the Sybil system, which can determine whether a person is a criminal or not based on their brainwaves. Psychopaths is chock full of psychological drama and philosophical debates that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Also, it asks questions like, what if you are so insane that the Sybil system reads you as being normal?
The city is like a parody of the sort of novels I used to read when I was younger.
Oh yeah, what kind? Like a William Gibson book?
More like Philip K. Dick.
There are a lot of anime series based on manga, and sometimes they can go in the wrong direction. It doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, it just means that they have stopped following the manga. This next series on the list is definitely one of those that had to be redone, and that is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. The first series wasn't bad in my eyes, but I wasn't blown away with it in the same manner as I was with Brotherhood. Yes, it being an exact adaptation of the manga does help, but what I love about this show is learning about the world the characters live in. It is an alternate reality of a Germanic nation where they chose alchemy over science, and everything that occurs throughout is unique and intriguing. There are a lot of excellent characters throughout, and they all grow as the show progresses. The villains are based on the 7 sins, and each one really does a nice job of representing the sin they are based on through their personality and actions. Now, just because I am a fan of Brotherhood over the original series does not mean I don't think the original series needs to cease to exist, as it should still exist because it is still a good series. It's just I was not as blown away with it as other people were compared to Brotherhood. The next series on my list was brought to America under a different title and was actually 3 series heavily edited into one long series, and that is Macross. While its Robotech incarnation is not bad, nothing tops the original. Aliens, spaceships, good characters that can die at almost any moment's notice, and it is an interesting spin on the mech genre. This show has everything in it from drama to comedy to action. The aliens, known as the Zentradi, invade Earth and start to find themselves infatuated with the culture of men to the point where they start to rebel against their own brethren. Macross knows how to keep you engaged without getting into a repetition that a lot of its follow-up series have done. If you have never seen this series before, you are missing out on one of the biggest classics out there. There have been several Macross sequels and spin-offs over the years as well, but like I said in the beginning of this, nothing tops the original. The next series on my list is a cool cat that doesn't really need an introduction. It is Cowboy Bebop. Unlike a lot of anime on this list, this series is very episodic in nature, and yet it is a very compelling show thanks to its rich cast of characters and stories. Every episode is titled after a song, which makes it another matchlessly done show compared to those that try to copy it. It is about a set of bounty hunters who each have their own share of problems, and it's the bond they share that gets them through their day. The animation is crisp, and it has a really great musical score to boot. Finally, this show features hands down one of the greatest endings to ever grace anime. There's a reason Cartoon Network launched Adult Swim with this as one of their flagship anime series. The next series on this list is the second series to be brought to America and turned into something else, and that is Go Lion. Go Lion, or Voltron to those in the US, is basically a live-action Sentai show, and that is what makes it great. It has a team of characters that pilot robot lions that merge together to form a giant robot known as Go Lion. The characters each have their own personalities, be it the heroes of Earth, the princess and her people of Altia, to the villains of the Gara Empire. In a similar case with Cowboy Bebop, a lot of it feels episodic, but in reality, it is actually building upon bigger stories that will take precedence towards the end of the show. A lot of plot lines and characters are developed throughout its 52-episode run, leaving a really satisfying conclusion by the end. I personally prefer Go Lion over Voltron. Voltron's not bad as it did introduce me to the world of anime, but, like I said again, same with Macross, Go Lion all the way. The next series on my list really did actually take me by surprise when I saw it for the first time, and I instantly fell in love with it. And that is Tiger and Bunny. At a time when anime was starting to feel stale and just a rehash of everything that had been done before, there came Tiger and Bunny. This show is set in a futuristic Manhattan where superheroes are required to have TV sponsors in order to be heroes. Like the shows above, the cast is quite diverse, and it is their bond of working together while working against one another that really helps drive the show into a success. If you want to see a show that deals with many different genres beneath the layers of its skin, this is definitely one of them. This is definitely one of those shows that is so good, you're going to just want to marathon the whole 25-episode series and its movie in like one day. It is very well worth it. Like the mech genre itself, Gundam has been a staple of anime for decades. And why not? It is one of the most merchandised properties out there.
Merchandising! Merchandising!
As such, what anime list could be without a Gundam series? And my number 4 pick is Gundam Wing. Gundam Wing is by far the best Gundam series out there, as it takes everything that came before it and perfects it. Okay, I'm just kidding. My next choice is actually Zeta Gundam. This is easily the best of the Gundam series out there thanks to its beautiful animation, interesting mech designs, story, and most of all, every character has a purpose. It's not often you'll find a show where all the characters are there for a reason and build up as the show progresses. It isn't a perfect show as there are a few questionable moments in it, but that aside, it is a fantastic ride from start to finish. It takes place 7 years after the original series ending and builds on it by introducing a new war with new characters. The fact that it features characters from the original show only helps to add more depth to this show, as it shows not everything was unicorns and rainbows just because the so-called 1-year war ended. Another nice aspect is the series doesn't just try to rehash what was done in its predecessor, but instead try something new. Why are you gonna look at me like that? I couldn't help myself. I had to do it. Zeta is a very well-made series, but it's also an 80s series, and it has a lot of elements that were only in the 80s. Nevertheless, check it out. In the early 2000s, anime started to have a boom in the US. And Fox Kids decided to bring this series on their station in a horribly dubbed and edited form. And that was The Vision of Escaflowne. Dragons, mech, mythology, science, and sorcery. What more could you ask for? How about a distinctive show about a girl who is accidentally transported to an alien world where human and beast men battle for peace from an evil empire? Escaflowne is one of those shows that features something for everyone. The characters are well defined by strong personalities and have to fight a just as interesting empire run by the Emperor Dorn Kirk. To say anything else would ruin the surprises this show throws at you, so I will stop here. Like a few of the other shows on this list, this one does have a movie, but the movie's not a sequel to the series or anything to do with it. It's just its own story, and not a very good one at that. Unless you are really curious, avoid the movie at all costs. The only thing that really saves it is animation and its music. The next choice on my list is a series that has several different incarnations, from a manga, a movie, to TV series, to even OVA series. Nevertheless, the best of those versions is hands down Ghost in the Shell's Standalone Complex. Anime is full of future settings, but if any of them could actually happen, this is the one to do it. It is set in the 2030s, where cyborgs are an everyday thing and people are constantly connected to the interwebs of virtual reality. This show is a 2-season and a movie series that is reminiscent of Psychopaths by holding a lot of philosophical debates on what is, what isn't, and what may be. The team of Section 9 compiles the main cast of the show, with each member bringing their own experiences and beliefs to the team. The world is enriched by constant conversation about events that occurred in the past and are done in a way to not overload the viewer while also giving them a lot to think about. This is a world where a lot of stuff had happened in the past, and the past always seems to come back to bite everyone in the ass in some form or another. The only negative is that not every character is given a chance to shine in the spotlight, but they still hold enough value to the team to feel like they are part of it regardless. Add on top one of Yoko Kanno's best anime scores of all time, and you have a truly great show. As I said, this series has various incarnations, from the manga, to the movies, to the Arise universe, but none of them have topped Standalone Complex for me. As with every top 10 list, there are a lot of items that couldn't be put on the list just because. So it is only befitting to have an honorable mentions list. At last we come down to the top choice on my list. Is it the greatest anime ever made? I don't know. But it definitely is my favorite anime ever made, and that is Gankutsu, the Count of Monte Cristo. This series is a futuristic science fiction adaptation of the Count of Monte Cristo. As such, it has a diverse cast of characters that are just as rich here as they were in the original novel. It also adds a lot of its own ideas into the show by making Monte Cristo a pseudo-vampiric-like being while maintaining his plot for revenge. Not just that, but this show features the most gorgeous looking animation to ever grace Japan, as everything looks like a stained glass window in motion. Like the previous shows on this list, it has a truly magnificent score to go with it. It starts off when Edmund is already Monte Cristo and kind of sets up what the first half of the novel was about in its illustrious opening song by French musician Jean-Jacques Bernal. The people behind this show were clearly fans of the book because their love for the source material oozes through every scene with great admiration. The setup is interesting and we get to see how ruining the life of one man out of spite can truly bring down an entire country's aristocracy in just a few months' time. No anime has wowed me the same way this series has, and as such everyone, regardless of your taste, should definitely check it out. Well, that brings my top 10 favorite anime list to a close. Until next time, bye.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust.